Discover the three miraculous beasts God divinely exposed and transformed in history's sacred covenant. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon came unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. The people of Judah found themselves exiles in a foreign land, their faith tested amidst the splendor of Babylon and its golden temples. Among them was a youth named Daniel, who walked closely with God, his heart steadfast. Serving in the royal courts, Daniel remained resolute against the culture that demanded conformity, despite the towering walls and enticing pleasures that surrounded him. On a night when the winds howled like a tempest outside, Daniel lay upon his bed, wrestling with the burden of dreams that haunted his spirit. Desperately, he sought wisdom from the Lord, pouring forth prayers with fervor. As he drifted into a restless sleep, a breathtaking vision unfolded, breathless in its intensity. The great sea stirred before him, turbulent and wild, its waves crashing against unseen shores. Out of the depths, 4 great beasts emerged, each one more fearsome than the last, each a manifestation of the power that would rise and fall in history, a testimony to the unfailing sovereignty of God over earthly kingdoms. The first beast roared forward, majestic like a lion, its wings spread wide as an eagle. Daniel's heart raced. It symbolized Babylon's unyielding strength and dominance, the kingdom of his captors. As the lion stood imposing, Daniel wrestled with a sense of despair, feeling the weight of captivity. The scene shifted suddenly, revealing a second beast. An enormous bear lumbered forth, with 3 ribs in its mouth, representing the Medo-Persian Empire. An edict of judgment loomed, a reminder that while the might of empires appeared invincible, none could escape the weight of God's plan. Majestic power turned grotesque as Daniel perceived the true nature of earthly kingdoms, destined to be judged by the Lord. Then, like lightning, a third beast appeared, a leopard, swift as the wind and adorned with 4 wings, heralding the rise of Alexander the Great. Daniel watched in awe yet agony, sensing each beast's end was inevitable, knowing destruction awaited them all. God was reminding him, through these turbulent visions, of the hope that lay in the promises echoing through the ages, including the words of Jeremiah, which foretold restoration for his people. As this divine revelation unfolded, Daniel remained steadfast in prayer, even as the threat of persecution loomed closer. Undeterred by the lion's den awaiting him, he felt the stirring of hope in the depths of his heart. Just as the despair threatened to engulf his spirit, a radiant figure emerged in his vision, one who looked like a son of man. In that sacred moment, the promise of an everlasting kingdom pierced through the darkness, assuring Daniel that this powerful figure would vanquish all the beasts, establishing God's sovereignty once and for all. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As the vision faded, Daniel awoke breathless, the weight of his revelations palpable. Faithful to God's covenant, he understood that the rise and fall of empires would not define his hope. The divine revelations remained vivid in his mind. Uncertainty lingered. Would he endure the trials that lay ahead? Would God sustain his people amid such turmoil? The echoes of eternity stirred within Daniel, fervently seeking understanding of God's unfolding plan in these turbulent times. In the days that followed, Daniel sought solace in prayer, prostrating himself before God as he grappled with the meaning of the vision. With each passing moment, the weight of the revelation pressed upon him heavier, a reminder of the monumental shifts that awaited the world. The heavens seemed to quiet, and in the stillness, Daniel perceived a clarity amidst the chaos. The Lord was directing his thoughts even as he wrestled with fear. That morning, as the sun broke over Babylon, the brisk air carried with it the murmurs of the king's court. Nebuchadnezzar's decree had spread like wildfire, and the fear of the unknown gripped the hearts of the people. Yet, Daniel remained resolute, he understood now that God was orchestrating events beyond the immediate fear of men. News soon reached him that the king had been troubled by dreams that eluded even the wisest of Babylon's sages. An edict went forth: whosoever could interpret the king's haunting visions would be rewarded beyond measure. Yet failure promised death, a stark reminder of the perilous position of those who served in the presence of kings. Daniel, upon hearing the decree, gathered his friends Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and they devoted themselves to prayer. "O God of heaven," Daniel cried out, "you who reveal mysteries, show us your truth that we may save our lives and speak of your wonders among the nations." They beseeched the Lord for mercy, their hearts unified in faith that he would not abandon them. That night, as Daniel lay before the Lord, sleep overtook him once again. A vision came forth, clearer than before, the mysteries of the heavens were laid bare before him. A shining light enveloped him as he beheld the might of the great kingdoms represented by the beasts. The interpretation flooded his mind. The king's dream spoke of kingdoms yet to rise, kingdoms that would vie for dominion yet are perfected under the authority of the Most High. Upon awakening, the light of understanding illuminated Daniel's spirit. Desperate to share the salvation of his people, he swiftly sought an audience with the king's captain, Arioch. "Take me to the king," he implored. As they approached, Daniel sensed the gravitational pull of destiny pressing upon him. When Daniel stood before Nebuchadnezzar, the king's eyes bore the weight of anxious anticipation. "I have heard you claim wisdom that can unravel the spokes of my dreams," the king commanded. Daniel bowed low, his heart beating fiercely. No wise man, enchanter, or magician can reveal the king's dream. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. As Daniel recounted the king's vision, the great statue of 4 contrasting materials, each representing kingdoms, the king's expression shifted from skepticism to awe. Daniel articulated the promise of God's eternal kingdom and the stone that would strike down the image and fill the earth. God was moving. A testament to his unfathomable sovereignty resided in Daniel's words, mingled with urgency and grace. The interpretation streamed forth, and the king prostrated himself upon hearing the revelation. "Truly, your God is the God of gods." Through God's deliverance, Daniel had become a vessel of hope, preserving his realm and affirming God's faithfulness among the exiled. Yet, within the grandeur of the moment, a lingering question remained: what more was to come from the great unfolding plan of God, the author of history and redemption? As the dust settled, the world held its breath in expectation. What would God reveal next through his faithful servant, and how would his sovereign plan continue to unveil in the tapestry of time? The stage was set for a revelation that would echo not just through the halls of Babylon, but throughout the ages, drawing all mankind toward his greater purpose and fulfillment. As the sun set beyond the towering walls of Babylon, the colors of the evening painted the skies with hues of gold and crimson. The bustling city slowly quieted, yet in the heart of Daniel, a fervor ignited. The grandeur of Nebuchadnezzar's palace, with its elaborate gardens and high terraces, now stood as a witness to the sovereign will of God. The eternal kingdom awaited to burst forth in glory. In the days that followed the king's acknowledgement of Daniel's God, the faith of the young exiles flourished like the trees of the garden of the gods. Daniel and his companions, emboldened by the miraculous revelation, embraced their newfound influence. Yet they understood the weight of their responsibility. The visions they had received were not merely for their safety but for the awakening of entire nations. And so it came to pass that Nebuchadnezzar summoned Daniel once more. His heart brimmed with questions, for the dream's implications tormented his thoughts. "Daniel," the king began, his voice trembling with the kind of longing only divinely gifted insight could satisfy, "speak to me again of the future. For I see the shadows of great beasts looming on the horizon." Daniel, with the respect and reverence of a prophet, bowed his head. "O king, live forever. The interpretations are not for me, but for the God of heaven. In his wisdom, he has chosen to reveal what shall come to pass." As the words poured forth from Daniel's mouth, the king leaned forward, his eyes locked onto Daniel's face, urging him to continue. "There are 4 great beasts that shall arise from the sea," Daniel declared, his voice steady and clear. The first, like a lion with eagle's wings, represents Babylon, the kingdom you rule. It shall be great, yet its wings shall be plucked, and it shall be made to stand upon its feet like a man, and a heart of a man shall be given to it. At this, Nebuchadnezzar's brow furrowed, sensing the implications of his own fate. And behold, another beast, a bear raised up on one side, shall dominate the earth and devour nations, symbolizing the kingdom that shall succeed you. Then a third beast, like a leopard with 4 wings, shall come forth, swift and fierce, representing yet another dominion that will claim its place in the annals of history. The king's expression morphed, a kaleidoscope of curiosity and fear, as Daniel continued to speak of the fourth beast. But this fourth beast is different, terrible and strong, with iron teeth and 10 horns. It shall make war against the saints and wear them down. Yet understand this king, the Ancient of Days shall bring judgment, and he will give the kingdom to the saints of the Most High. Casting his gaze to the heavens, Daniel felt the weight of God's sovereignty in each revelation. In his timing, all kingdoms will crumble, and the dominion of the everlasting kingdom shall arise, and it shall never pass away. As he finished speaking, a profound silence enveloped the room. Nebuchadnezzar, shaken to his core, fell into a deeper reverent silence, grappling with the greatness of God's plans unfolding through him and the trials that awaited. How shall these things come to pass? The king murmured, as though speaking to himself. And there in the presence of the most powerful man on earth, Daniel's heart was filled with a fervent hope not merely for themselves but for generations yet unborn. God's sovereignty was intricately woven in the fabric of time, drawing all people to him even through cycles of sin and redemption. Could this truly be the end of kingdoms, or was it merely the prelude to the grand revelation of God's eternal purpose? There, amidst the grandeur of Babylon, the question lingered, gripping the very souls of the faithful: how would this unfolding destiny transform the hearts of men and nations? Neither king nor prophet could fathom the depths of divine intention, or the full extent of God's sacred covenant. And so it was, in the stillness of that moment, they awaited the next chapter of God's story, a story destined to reveal its wondrous fulfillment in the ages yet to come. As dawn broke over Babylon, the golden rays bathed the city in luminescence, but within Nebuchadnezzar's heart, shadows of doubt lingered. He sought the counsel of his wise men, believing that perhaps together they could decipher the depths of Daniel's revelations. Yet, each sage remained silent, for they knew their wisdom paled in comparison to the insight bestowed upon the young Hebrew. Meanwhile, Daniel retired to his quarters, seeking solitude. There, he knelt before the Lord, pleading for further understanding. O God of heaven, grant me clarity and strength, for your plans are wondrous and far beyond my comprehension. As he prayed, visions flooded his mind. The 4 beasts danced before him once more, each emblematic of a kingdom shaped by pride, power, and the weight of sin. Yet alongside these visions, he discerned a greater truth: that through each beast, God's hand would guide humankind toward redemption. That night, a deep sleep fell upon Daniel, and the Lord revealed to him new mysteries. In the stillness, he saw a 5th kingdom, a small stone cut from the mountains without hands, crashing down upon the beasts. It grew into a great mountain, filling the earth. The stone bore the mark of the Messiah, destined to reign forever. Awakening with a start, Daniel's spirit surged with excitement and trepidation. The meaning of what he had seen possessed a profound weight. With the dawn's light, he would return to the king, armed not only with knowledge but with a message of hope. When Nebuchadnezzar summoned him once again, the air between them thrummed with divine anticipation. Have you come with further understanding of my dreams? The king asked, his voice betraying his unease. Indeed, O king, Daniel replied, his heart pounding. The beast you saw represent kingdoms strong yet transient. They rise and fall under the sovereign counsel of God. But behold, there is one who is coming. With each word, Daniel felt the power of prophecy course through him, as he recounted the vision of the stone. For the kingdom that shall be established shall never be destroyed, nor shall it be left to other people. It shall break in pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end, and it shall stand forever." Nebuchadnezzar's eyes widened, caught between awe and dread. "You speak of a king who shall reign with authority beyond understanding?" Daniel nodded, aware that the implications resonated deeply within the king's heart. "Thus, O king, it is written, the greatness of that kingdom shall be granted to the people of the saints of the Most High. They shall possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever." Suddenly, the king fell prostrate before Daniel, recognizing the divine truth unveiling before him. "Surely your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings," he proclaimed, his voice reverberating through the hall. But amidst their exchange, Daniel sensed turbulence brewing in the unseen realm. The fourth beast, fierce and relentless, stirred against the faith of the saints, setting forth challenges upon the land. "Yet, know this, O king," Daniel declared with unwavering faith. "Though trials rise against the faithful, the Lord will preserve his people. His plan is steeped in mercy, guiding us from the bondage of darkness into the light of his everlasting grace." With renewed resolve, Daniel departed from the presence of the king, aware that dark times would soon arrive. He understood that these were not mere visions, but divine truths about a covenant unfolding through ancient hearts intertwined with the future. In the chambers of prayer, Daniel pondered the promise that resonated throughout the heavens, the stone that would crush nations, revealing the intertwined fates of heaven and earth. Would the faithful endure, or would they falter in the face of national upheaval? Only God knew the depths of his sovereign plan, and as Daniel went forth, he held fast to the hope that amidst the beasts of history, divine transformation awaited those who trusted in the eternal kingdom, a promise yet to be fulfilled, echoing through the ages to come. As Daniel walked away from the king, the words he had spoken hung heavily in the air. The glory of God surrounded him, a palpable presence guiding him even as shadows stirred in the depths of the city. Nebuchadnezzar pondered the prophecy within the very walls of his palace, a kingdom built upon the shifting sands of power and pride. The sun's ascent painted the sky in hues of crimson and gold as Daniel returned to his friends Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, who awaited him anxiously. They sensed the weight of revelation upon him and knew from his countenance that a divine encounter had transpired. "Oh beloved friends," Daniel breathed, gathering them close, "the vision I beheld was not merely an echo of the dream from before. It is a call to discern the times as they unfold, for our God is revealing his sovereign plan to us. The kingdoms of man are transient, but the kingdom of the Most High shall endure." The trio's hearts quickened, as fervent zeal ignited within them. "What must we do, Daniel?" Hananiah queried, the earnestness of his spirit shining bright. "We must remain steadfast in prayer and seek the face of God, for he alone will grant us strength to endure the trials that will come," Daniel urged, his eyes sparkling with faith. As the sun rose higher, a dark cloud settled over Babylon. The king, consumed by visions of power twisted by fear, summoned the magicians and sorcerers of his court. "Tell me," he demanded, "what shall become of this nation? Are we to fall prey to the reign of wild beasts, or shall we rise above the ashes as a phoenix?" Yet once more, the wise men faltered. They had always relied upon the arts of divination and the whispers of spirits, but found themselves silenced by the magnitude of the truth that Daniel had revealed. In frustration, Nebuchadnezzar commanded the head of his wise men a decree that struck terror in their hearts. Meanwhile, in the spirit realm, the beasts awakened in fury. The fourth beast of iron and 10 horns stirred restlessly, summoning darkness for greater wrath upon those who clung to the promise of the stone. They conspired with powers unseen, seeking to erase the memory of the prophecy foretelling the unbreakable kingdom. "Fear not, for the Lord has spoken," Daniel comforted his friends, as they knelt in fervent prayer. "With humble hearts, we must intercede for our nation, for God's mercy flows through those who seek him diligently." In that sacred moment of supplication, the heavens opened, and peace enveloped them. A radiant light shone upon Daniel's face, illuminating the chamber. "The Lord has heard our cry," he proclaimed. "He has revealed to me a vision intertwined with our plight. And listen, kingdoms may rise, and tyrants may boast, yet the stone cut without hands will crush their arrogance, transforming them into dust. As Daniel shared this new revelation, the hearts of his friends ignited with boldness. "We shall stand and declare the truth of our God," Miss Hale exclaimed. Yet unbeknownst to them, the king's decree for the wise men loomed near. The air crackled with foreboding as the edict traveled swiftly. "They shall face the wrath of the fourth beast if they cannot deliver wisdom," Azariah whispered in fear, for this was a direct threat against those who followed the way of the Almighty. Yet in the crucible of peril, the faithful knew the Almighty would not forsake them. They would cling to the promises woven through history, whispering prayers that echoed the prophetic words prophesied through Daniel. As they sought God's face, a shadowy figure emerged in Babylon, unseen yet potent, gathering strength against the beloved of the Most High. Would the faithful withstand the storm, or would the winds of adversity sway them from the unyielding truth of their God? Only time would reveal the depth of God's sovereign plan, and within the waiting, hope persisted, a kingdom meant to endure beyond the claws of fear and the hands of oppression. The unfolding was yet to come, and as Daniel whispered, "The stone shall rise," anticipation quaked within the heavens, causing nations to shudder at the touch of the Almighty's authority. As the echo of Daniel's whispered promise lingered in the air, his friends knelt before the Almighty, their hearts intertwined in fervent prayer. The evening shadows deepened around them, as if the darkness itself sought to constrict their faith. Yet, emboldened by the revelation they held, they resolved to remain steadfast. "He will show us his wonders," Hananiah proclaimed, his voice rising with unwavering faith. "Let us fast and seek his face, for there is power in our unity." The three companions committed themselves wholly to prayer and sacrifice, crying out to God for understanding and deliverance from the impending threat of the king's decree. They knew not the hour or the day in which the Lord would respond, but they trusted that the God who had delivered them before would do so again. Meanwhile, in the courts of Nebuchadnezzar, the atmosphere was fraught with tension. The king, restless upon his throne, wrestled with his nightmares, his spirit troubled by the weight of the unimaginable fate hanging over his kingdom. "Why can none of these wise men explain my dreams?" he roared, pacing like a lion deprived of its pride. "I demand answers." The sorcerers trembled at the king's fury, for the proclamation of their doom loomed like a specter in the chamber. "O king, perhaps you should consider the young man, Daniel, who speaks with the wisdom of the gods," one suggested, driven by desperation. "Bring him," Nebuchadnezzar commanded, and in that moment, a ripple of hope ran through the heart of Daniel's companions. They too had heard of his unwavering faith and prophetic insight, but fears still loomed when faced with the king's ire. As Daniel was ushered into the presence of the great king, the room fell silent. The air thick with uncertainty crackled as Nebuchadnezzar turned his piercing gaze upon Daniel. "You have the ability to interpret dreams, Daniel? Can you reveal to me the meaning of my deep fears?" Daniel's heart did not quail at the weight of this moment, for he recognized that this confrontation was not solely for his own sake, but for the glory of the one he served. "Let not the king's heart be troubled," he replied, bowing low before Nebuchadnezzar, "for the God of heaven has granted me insight. Yet, I beseech you to hear the interpretation, for my words are not from my own cleverness, but from the Almighty's hand." With reverence, Daniel recounted the dream once again, the image of the great statue, its head of gold, the chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, and feet partly of iron and clay. "This," he said, "represents you, O king, for God has given you dominion over nations. But fear not, for of this kingdom shall arise a stone, the kingdom that shall break and crumble the pride of all earthly powers." Nebuchadnezzar, swallowed by intrigue and frustration, absorbed each word like a thirsty land receiving rain. "And what are we to make of the beasts?" he pressed, his voice thick with urgency. As Daniel spoke of the beasts that stirred in the spirit realm, he described each with a vividness that captured the king's imagination. "These beasts represent the kingdoms that shall rise and fall, but fear not, for they are ultimately under the dominion of the stone cut without hands that will crush the arrogance of men, for they shall not endure." A fire ignited within Nebuchadnezzar's eyes as understanding began to dawn, yet dread lingered still, for he sensed a battle was being waged beyond his comprehension. Are these the powers that threaten my reign? He pondered aloud. In response, Daniel pondered the hidden plans of God, aware that every prophetic utterance served a divine purpose. The revelation was not only for the king but for all nations, a call to humility before the Almighty. As he left the court, the tension hung thick, a stirring within the heavens accompanied by a clash of spiritual forces unseen. And just as the king would wrestle with his earthly power, Daniel and his friends would wrestle in prayer for understanding, seeking the Lord's guidance amid uncertainty. For the unfolding of God's sovereign plan was nearing a pivotal moment. What had been whispered in shadows would soon break forth into glory, compelling the hearts of nations to reckon with the truth of the Most High. Would the faithful remain unyielding, or would fear sway their resolve? As the dawn approached, nations stirred, and in the stillness, the phrase echoed through the heavens, "The time is near for the stone to rise, and with it, hope for all who seek the Lord." As Daniel departed from the presence of the king, his spirit was heavy yet filled with expectancy. The edges of the prophecy woven into Nebuchadnezzar's dream pressed upon his heart like a divine seal. He hastened to meet his companions, for the truth revealed to him was a treasure meant to be shared. "Let us gather again," he called out with urgency, his footsteps echoing upon the stone floor. "We must seek the face of the Lord anew, for he has spoken, and his words hold weight in the heavens and on the earth." Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah rose, their brows furrowed in anticipation. "What did the Lord reveal to you, Daniel?" they inquired, their voices a blend of curiosity and reverence. "The truth is profound," Daniel replied, his eyes shining with fervor. "The Lord showed me a kingdom that will arise, filled with terror and majesty, yet it shall not endure. A stone cut without hands shall smash it to dust, and the dream holds purpose for every nation beyond Babylon." That night, they again knelt before the Most High, their prayers rising like incense from their hearts. "O Lord, grant us clarity," Mishael beseeched, "for our hearts are burdened with the weight of this revelation." As the night deepened, a fervent peace descended upon them, as if the very presence of God wrapped them in a holy shroud. They poured their supplications and praises forth, intertwining their requests for understanding with exaltation for his plans. Then the Lord spoke. In the stillness, the three heard words from the Almighty, like whispers carried on warm winds: "The kingdoms of this world are but a veil, shrouding my glory. For I am the orchestrator of all things, the beasts you see represent the rising powers of men. But I am the stone, the ultimate authority, and through me will I establish a kingdom that shall never pass away." Dread and awe mingled in their hearts. The visions Daniel had received began to unfurl before them like a scroll, revealing the sovereign workings of the Lord even amidst the tumult of time. "Behold," came the voice again, "the first beast shall rise, fierce as a lion, with wings like an eagle. It will be swift, conquering lands, a ruler among nations." Each word burned in their ears as the companions grasped the implications. The revelations tied directly to the future history of kings and kingdoms. "But all earthly powers shall bow to the stone." Hananiah, filled with holy boldness, exclaimed, "What hope lies in this?" His face glowed with unwavering resolve. "We shall not fear. Our God reigns over all." The night deepened, yet their hearts burned with light, a truth unfurling. Suddenly, a vision broke forth in the minds of the faithful. The second beast rose, grotesque and fierce, bearing the face of a bear, ready to devour and trample the remnants of what came before. "Yet it too shall fall," predicted Daniel softly, recalling the dream where the statue stood firm only to be shattered by the measure of divine justice. "Their dominion is transient." A murmur of agreement swept among them, their spirits entwined within a tapestry of faith. Finally, a third beast was unveiled, a shadowy, serpentine creature with 10 horns, representative of the cunning heart of man. "Each one of these kingdoms will be allowed to reign, yet their end awaits," declared Mishael, his voice rising with conviction. They clasped hands, embracing the greater truth that echoed throughout the ages. As dawn approached, the companions stood awash in hope, the shadows retreating from the light of understanding. They knew that they were carriers of a greater message, heralds of divine truth poised to change the course of nations. Yet the night was not without its mysteries. Will the world realize the identity of the stone? Azariah pondered aloud, the questions ruminating in their hearts. Indeed, Daniel responded, but they shall not see until the appointed time, when the sovereign plan unfolds and the truth emerges from the shadows. For it was written, the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. As they gazed toward the rising sun, an undeniable truth lingered in the air. The time was coming when the stone would not only rise, but would also reveal the ultimate purpose woven throughout history. With their heart set on the Holy One and the prophetic promise, they prepared for what was to come. The earth would soon witness a divine work and, wrapped within God's vast design, they were chosen to be His witness among the nations. The question remained, who would heed the call when the time of reckoning arrived? As the dawn broke over Babylon, illuminating the ancient walls like the promise of new revelation, Daniel and his companions spoke fervently about the visions they had received. Their voices fell softly in the air, resonating with the weight of heavenly truth. "Let us not forget the purpose of our calling," Daniel urged, as they gathered to discuss the significance of the beasts and the stone. "Our lives are instruments in the hands of the Almighty, chosen to declare His glory to the nations. We are entrusted with knowledge that will echo through the ages." The companions listened intently, for within Daniel's words lay the fervor of prophecy, imbued with divine purpose. Hananiah, emboldened by the Spirit, voiced the thoughts that stirred within him. "Oh, that we might remain faithful in our witness! We must not allow fear or uncertainty to pass between us, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and self-control." With hearts aligned in faith, they revisited the recent revelations. "The first beast," Daniel began, "symbolizes the might of Babylon, swift in conquest and fierce in pride. But even this kingdom was not immune to God's decree. It will fall, for He raises and He brings low." Indeed. Miss Hale added, "Such is the nature of human empires." The second beast, the bear, is a reminder of the Persians, its voracity consumes the land. Yet our awareness of this truth is a beacon of hope, for it strengthens our resolve. And the third beast, Azariah exhorted, is a testament to the cunning and treachery that shall permeate nations, arising from the hearts of men. Yet the vision reminds us that nothing escapes the eyes of the Lord. As they spoke, the Spirit moved upon them, filling them with the fervor of prophetic understanding. It was as if the heart of the one true God pulsed through their very beings. "Let us rise and act," Daniel declared suddenly, his voice unwavering. "We must engage with the king, for our testimony might pierce the hearts of even the proudest rulers. Through God's purpose unfolding before us, the nations shall witness the majesty of His kingdom." Thus resolved, they made their way through the labyrinth of Babylon's gates, their footsteps echoing with courage. The air was thick with anticipation, as the citizens of the city went about their daily toil, unaware of the cosmic struggle unfolding beyond their sight. As they stood before Nebuchadnezzar, the king's face was a mask of confusion, born from the weight of his troubling dreams. "Are you able to make known to me the dream and its interpretation?" he demanded, his voice like rolling thunder. "Great King," Daniel proclaimed with holy authority, "the sovereign Lord of heaven has revealed to you both the dream and the mysteries intertwined within. You stand upon the precipice of history, called to witness the unfolding of His divine design." The king's eyes widened, a flicker of recognition dawning within him. The Spirit of God had been stirring in Nebuchadnezzar's heart. But amid the tension, a new twist loomed, cryptic yet pressing. What if, in his arrogance, he refuses to heed the word of God? Azariah's voice trembled with concern as he contemplated the implications of resistance against the Almighty. "The stone will crush every kingdom, filling the earth with that which endures forever," Daniel stated steadfastly. And so, the hour approached when the Sun of Righteousness would rise over the earth, bringing revelation to those who dared look upon it. The time would come when understanding birthed by faith would fulfill the promise made. The stone, the cornerstone, would reveal not only its power but the ultimate purpose woven into the fabric of history. As the king pondered these words, a rift opened between sacred and worldly destiny. The shadows breathed, flaring with expectation. The question remained, would he allow himself to be transformed by the truth, or would he cling to his earthly dominion, missing the glorious plan the Lord had ordained? Thus the divine narrative unfolded, a tapestry yet to be completed, tethered by the eternal promise, and in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. As silence enveloped the great hall, Daniel's words hung heavily in the air, pregnant with destiny. The king's brow furrowed, pondering the divine revelations that had been set before him. The flickering torchlight danced shadows across the marble floor, mirroring the tumult of emotions stirring in Nebuchadnezzar's heart. "Speak, Daniel," Nebuchadnezzar commanded, his voice steadied by an unexplainable weight. "I await your interpretation, for my spirit is troubled, and I seek peace." With a deep breath, Daniel stepped closer, emboldened by the assurance of the Almighty. "O King, your dream reveals that you are indeed the head of gold, a kingdom ordained by God's sovereign will," he began, his voice resonant. "But just as your reign is majestic, so too shall the kingdoms that follow you arise and fall. The silver, the bronze, and the iron mixed with clay represent kingdoms that will surmount your own." The king nodded slowly, his eyes narrowing as Daniel continued. "Each beast, each element of this dream, is a predestined marker of time. The second beast is the Medes and Persians, fierce in their conquests yet temporary in their dominion." Murmurs rustled through the audience seated around the throne, and the weight of this prophecy spread like ripples across the surface of a deep pond, deepening the silence with every word Daniel spoke. The third beast, a leopard with 4 wings, would represent the Greeks, swift and cunning in its approach. As Daniel revealed these truths, Azariah felt the stirring of the spirit within him once more. "But King," he exclaimed, urgency lining his voice, "these revelations are not merely forewarnings, they are a divine call to humility and submission to the Almighty. Will you not turn your heart towards the one who has orchestrated these things?" The weight of Azariah's plea pierced through the king's pride like a sword. He opened his mouth to reply, but his mind reeled, torn between awe and turmoil. "What then of the stone?" he asked, captivated by the prophetic urgency that enveloped them all. "What of that which struck the statue and became a mountain that filled the earth?" Daniel's expression sharpened, for he understood this was the crux of the revelation. "The stone," he declared with fervor, "is Christ, the Anointed One, who shall establish a kingdom that will shatter every earthly dominion. No matter how great, it shall endure forever. And it is through him that the hearts of men, kings and commoners alike, can find true solace and salvation." Nebuchadnezzar's heart raced, and in that moment, a flicker of hope ignited within him. "Could I, a king of Babylon, find rest in this stone?" He pondered aloud, the weight of his crown feeling heavier with every passing moment. As the tension in the room thickened like impending storm clouds, the companions of Daniel exchanged glances, a silent prayer mingling in their hearts. Would the king embrace this revelation, or would he harden his heart against the divine call? But as if to answer their silent query, a shadow fell upon Nebuchadnezzar's features. "What do you desire from me, Daniel? What must I do?" he asked, the vulnerability of his question hanging in the air. "Repent, O king," Daniel implored, "and turn from your ways unto the Lord, who reigns supreme over all kingdoms. For every heart that seeks him will find renewal." Hesitation filled the king's eyes. Would he surrender to the heavenly truth or fortify his earthly desires? The threads of fate began to weave a tapestry of their own. At that moment, a shout arose from the crowd, a reminder of human frailty. And as Nebuchadnezzar wrestled with fate, the shadows loomed larger, echoing the gravity of the moment. Would he continue to build on the shifting sands of pride, or would he choose to stand upon the unshakable stone? Thus the stage was set for a great confrontation between pride and humility, revealing that even the mightiest could fall beneath the sovereign hand of God. "It is not merely a dream, but the unfolding of God's plan," Daniel concluded, the weight of revelation echoing in his heart. And behold, the hour approaches when every knee shall bow and every tongue confess the enduring truth of the stone that shall fill the earth. The king faltered, but he was not yet transformed. A murmur of suspense enveloped them all. For in this unfolding moment lingered the question, when the time of reckoning comes, who would stand in the light of the stone? As the sun dipped low upon the horizon, casting elongated shadows across Babylon, the tension in the great hall of Nebuchadnezzar's palace transformed from uncertainty to urgency. The king's thoughts were in turmoil, yet a flicker of hope resonated deep within him as Daniel's words echoed in his ears. "Repent, O king, and turn from your ways unto the Lord, who reigns supreme over all kingdoms." With bated breath, Daniel awaited the king's response, for the fate of nations hung precariously in the balance. Would Nebuchadnezzar recognize the sovereign hand of God, or would he tether his heart to the fleeting desires of earthly power? The atmosphere thickened with divine expectancy, and in that sacred tension, God's perfect will pressed forth. "Daniel," Nebuchadnezzar began slowly, his voice laced with hesitation, "if these things must come to pass, then how shall I prepare my heart? How can I find grace at the feet of this stone you speak of?" With warmth and earnestness in his gaze, Daniel replied, "Believe in the God of heaven, O king. Acknowledge his sovereignty over your reign, for each man who humbles himself before the Almighty will find life and mercy. The stone will not merely crush the kingdoms of pride but will build a foundation of reconciliation and hope for those who seek him." A wave of revelation washed over the king, stirring within him an insatiable longing, a desire to break free from the chains of his own making. Could it truly be so? He questioned softly, yet with an earnest heart. The flickers of divine truth illuminated the dark corridors of his soul, urging him to let go of power in exchange for the unshakable promises of God. Surrounded by the chorus of his esteemed court, Nebuchadnezzar lowered his head in humility, a man torn from the delusions of grandeur that had bound him captive. "Then I will turn, Daniel," he proclaimed with resolute faith. "I will seek the God who reigns above. I will surrender my kingdom to him." The declaration reverberated off the marble walls, echoing through the ages, as if the heavens themselves celebrated the king's heartfelt conversion. As the king made his proclamation, the shadows lurking in the unseen realm recoiled in fear, knowing that the power of darkness cannot withstand the light of true repentance. Daniel and his friends gathered close, feeling the radiance of God's presence envelop them in that moment of divine surrender. Yet, unbeknownst to them, the beast had not yet relinquished its hold. The fourth beast, a harbinger of chaos, stirred restlessly. With each act of surrender, it unleashed a fury aimed at undermining the hearts of the faithful. It sought to turn Nebuchadnezzar back to bitterness, to ensnare him in doubt once again. "Fear not, for the Almighty prevails." Daniel spoke with unwavering faith, sensing the impending struggle. "He who has saved you shall sustain you. Let no threat draw you away from his promises." Empowered by Daniel's words, the king stepped boldly into the arena of faith, recognizing the profound truth that God's plan would withstand every trial. Days turned into weeks, and under new light, Nebuchadnezzar governed with humility, seeking the counsel of Daniel and his friends as he oriented his reign towards righteousness. The people of Babylon began to see the transformation, witnessing a king emerging from the shadows of pride, choosing the path of mercy. And so it came to pass that one fateful day, a decree echoed throughout the realm. "Let all who dwell in Babylon understand the greatness of the God of Daniel. For he is God, who reveals mysteries and guides nations." As hearts turned toward the Lord, the foundation of the kingdom began to tremble, not from fear but from hope, as the stone cut from the mountain grew stronger, filling the earth with the knowledge of the Lord. From that day forth, Nebuchadnezzar became a herald of God's faithfulness. He shared the testimony of his transformation, imploring others to trust in the Lord who reigns supreme. The faithful exiles rejoiced. The kingdom of Babylon, once a place of pride, was now a testament to God's grace. As Daniel looked upon his friends, their hearts ignited with a sense of purpose, he softly spoke. "The promise is unfolding, my beloved. Hope does not merely survive but thrives amid turmoil. Let us seize this opportunity to witness the power of God, not just here, but far beyond these walls. As the days turned to months, the question upon every heart was not what will come, but how will we respond? The beasts of fear were both subdued and awakened within the arena of the heart. The true battle raged, but God's sovereign plan remained irrevocable. For you see, Daniel concluded upon this sacred reflection, the stone is alive in every act of faith. It is not merely an image of power, but a living testament to our God's covenant, a promise that transcends the ages. We are not mere witnesses, we are participants in His glorious unfolding. And every soul that sought the Lord and leaned on His understanding would find strength in the stone that had struck down the beasts, the very embodiment of hope secured by the Creator of all, the promise that shall never perish. As the shadows lengthened and mysteries hung in the air, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah continued to pray and proclaim, urging all those who would listen to embrace the calling of the eternal kingdom. For they knew, the time was drawing near when every knee would bow at the name above all names, answering to the beckoning of the stone that fills the earth with unending grace. As this powerful testimony concludes, let us carry the message forward with urgency. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth across the globe. Leave a like now to help others find hope through the algorithm. Comment below your spiritual reflections and how this divine story impacted your faith. Your insight could inspire many. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Together, let us be vessels of His message, reaching out in the name of the one whose kingdom never ends.